Brookline Select Board meeting to order. Right now, we're going to take a look at the agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda that they'd like to see added or changed or modified in any way?
Nope.
Or no?
The only thing I wonder is, do we want to move up the lister discussion? Or do we want to leave it?
It's right there.
Down.
The lister discussion is next.
Yes,
Is Helen on?
Oh, sorry, it is. Well, okay, I guess I missed that in context with the 7B. So I guess it's on the agenda a couple times. Okay.
Yeah. I have the listers to introduce, and then later on we'll appoint under business. Okay, no changes to the agenda. Right now we have scheduled members of the public. I can introduce to you Mike Bills, who is on the, I believe he's on the phone, right, Mike? Where are you? Hi, Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm hard of hearing, and I'm not sure how to. I haven't done these Zoom things before.
Okay. All right. Well, basically, if you're on the telephone, I'm just going to, we received your letter. Thank you very much. I know Helen's not here, I guess, tonight, but right now we were looking for some help with our listers, and I just thought maybe you'd like to introduce yourself. Just, I know you wrote a note here. I have it in front of me, but maybe you can explain who you are and what you do in Townsend, and see if anybody has any questions for you. So the floor is yours, Michael.
Okay. I'm starting on my 12th year as a lister in Townsend. I enjoy being a lister. I like the work. I like meeting the people. And I'm just hoping I may be, if accepted, I could be a benefit for your town. I'm experienced with NIMRIC and CAMA, as well as the Vermont Current Use Program. And I believe those are the programs that you use, CAMA and NIMRIC.
Right.
I'm reasonably familiar with Brookline.
Okay.
I sure don't know as many people there as I used to,
Okay.
but I don't in Townsend either. If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Anybody have any questions for Michael? And Helen also, we work with Helen as well, Helen Holt.
Yes. Yeah, we're co-workers.
Okay. I do have a question. Who is Rosie?
Who's who?
Don't you have a Rosie on your lister page?
That's Rosa.
Oh, Rosa.
Rosa. That is my canine companion.
Okay, that's because she belongs to you. Okay, very good. I know she made it to the website. Does anybody have any questions for Mike about his qualifications or interest in working in our lister department?
I have one.
All right, Bruce.
Yes, Mike and Helen. Well, Helen's not there yet. Do you appraise? I mean, you said you like working with people. I'm assuming it's an assumption, but do you appraise the houses, or you just do the paperwork in the office?
Oh, both.
Great. That's good to us. Well, thank you. I'm good.
Okay. Peter, you had a question?
Yes, just the spelling of CAMA and NUMERIC.
Say that again?
I didn't catch the question. I'm sorry.
The two, I think they're softwares or something like that you said you're familiar with. I just need the spelling for the minutes.
Oh, the software. Could you help?
The CAMA and NIMRIC.
NEMRIC, NEMRC, all capital letters, and CAMA, capital CAMA, which are the two programs that Townsend uses, and also Brookline.
NEMRC.
NEMRC.
Got it. Thanks.
CAMA. NEMRIC and CAMA.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Michael, if you don't, if no one else has any other questions later on in the agenda, I'm going to, we didn't move it up, but we have some other appointments to make. And if you got our agenda, you notice that you are on it a little after 7 o'clock. I'll give you an email tomorrow with confirming that you were appointed, but we will be doing that in a little while. So if you don't have any other questions, if you'd like to stay for our meeting, you're welcome to stay. But if not,
Scott, can I just add something?
sure.
Mike, I want to thank you. I spoke with Cy Bailey yesterday. I want to thank both you and Helen for stepping up to help the town of Brookline. I did have the opportunity to meet Helen and show her around the office, and Sheila Goki also came down to explain a few things. But we're looking forward to having you on board for a while until we can either get someone to sign up or step up. But at any rate, I just wanted to thank you personally, and I will do anything I can to help you and Helen.
Thank you, and thank you for hearing me. And I'd be glad to come over anytime to talk with anybody.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike, for being
Yes, thank
willing
you.
to do it. That's a huge help for our town, and we like Guy says, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Thank you.
I know that
Enjoy
there
your
are
evening.
several forms that are
Thanks,
waiting.
Mike.
Thanks, you too.
filed and
Thank
to be
you.
processed. So I'm sure we'll be getting in touch. I'll give you a call tomorrow, send you an email tomorrow. But if you have any other questions, don't hesitate. I sent you my email and phone number. If you have any questions, Mike, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But I know Guy will be very helpful to you as well.
Thank you. I
Okay?
look forward to hearing from you. Shall I sign off now?
You can sign off if you'd like. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night. Night. All right, the next member scheduled of the public is the Windmill Hill Pinnacle Association. I used James Roberts' name on the agenda because that was on the original letter. But maybe Jay, you want to give us a summary? I know I happen to have all the paperwork here.
Okay.
What James sent out, but if you could explain a little bit more about how the 187 acres and the conservation plan, that would be wonderful. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't know what happened to those guys, but I guess I'll just have to fill in. On the Lands and Trails Committee for the WHPA, and we're excited about this project. It's, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Massey property, but it's a very spectacular 615 acre parcel that has been for sale for a number of years now. And the WHPA decided that it has so many endearing values, incredible wildlife habitat. It has half of Lily Pond, and it has bear habitat. It's just got so many awesome things, and also that there are so many opportunities for trails and recreational activities that the board decided that they would step up and make an offer, which was accepted by the Massey brothers. And we're in the middle of fundraising at this point. We need to be able to come up by I think it's the end of April, with about $500,000 purchase price on the parcel. And obviously, in order to get there, we're a very small organization. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the organization, but we're a bunch of volunteer members, and this is the first really big conservation project that we've been involved in that's kind of off the ridgeline between Westminster, Athens, and Brookline. And we're very excited about it because it also will do a number of other things for us. We have, as you guys, is everyone familiar with the WHPA and what we're about as an organization?
I am. I've done some reading and we've had, but I'm not sure about the rest.
Okay.
I am.
Yeah,
also.
I am as well.
Who is?
We all
Hey,
are.
no.
Okay,
I think we
great.
all are.
Okay. So you're familiar with the organization. So one of the things that we do and do very well is that we eventually acquire the parcels that are really strategic for us to own, and we develop trails and we maintain trails on the property. And in this particular case, we have a trail that kind of begins down a Grassy Brook Road. One of the trails that we have is a town line trail. I don't know if anybody's been up there, but one of the things that we will do is be able to establish a parking area for the town line trail to get cars off the Grassy Brook Road. The other thing that we're interested in doing too is providing, because of the previous owner, Mr. Massey didn't allow any public access at all. He posted it. Hi, I see you're here.
Yes,
I'm in the middle of talking about the project, and
it's all good.
I'll probably just let you fill in some of the details. But the other thing that we're trying to do now is we're going to be looking at developing a management plan and adding that to our other lands that are under the current use program. So when the land transfers from the present owners to the WHPA, we will indeed be able to have public access. We'll have a trail there, and we'll have a lot of really good habitat that we're serving to protect. And I think the details are in the letter that I think Camilla sent to the town. And what we're looking for is, I guess, an endorsement by the select board. And because we can use that to go to potential funders that we can use to help us finish the funding that we're trying to raise. So that's where we're at this point. Camilla's here, so you didn't take part in this, but if you want to say anything, please feel free to.
Well, I only want to make sure, you may have already said it, but taxes will be paid. There's really no change in that regard, and I know that's very important to towns. And the Pinnacles, I mean, you already know that we pay taxes for the other properties that we have in the town. And this is again, a really big one. And we're totally committed to continuing to be what you would call it nonprofit citizens in that way.
Uh-huh.
Very good. I do have the letter dated February 10th that was sent by James Roberts, and in it he does have he did include for us some pictures and a summary of the project proposal and the land mats, which I will return back to town hall tomorrow. But I was just wondering, how does the select board members feel? I have a copy of a suggested letter of support for them that I can certainly sign and bring to town hall tomorrow to be mailed out, unless there's an opposition to this. Is anybody? Let's see, David. What is there? How do you feel? Okay.
I personally feel very positively about it. I think we might want to have a discussion as to whether it makes sense. We have at times in the past when groups have come forward with requests like this, we've made inquiries of abutting landowners just to make sure there aren't any concerns potentially of residents whose land abuts that. Whether we choose to do that in this case, I think is maybe just something we can discuss once we've given it some more thought. But I'll say I'm very supportive of it. There are a few edits that I think we need to make to the letter, but nothing of substance. But yeah, I would be supportive of it.
Okay. Gwen, how do you feel about it?
I'm not sure what he's talking about the letter, because I don't remember ever seeing the letter from them.
Well, it's a letter from February to the Brookline Select Board from the Windmill Pinnacle Association, which describes the land, the conservation ideas.
I thought you was talking about the support letter.
Well, you can ask a little bit more about it from.
No, that's fine. And then,
Gwen, let me just clarify. They included, when Camilla sent around electronically, at least, the supporting documentation.
okay,
One of the things is they have drafted a letter that I think they suggest we could,
Right.
sign on to, that makes all of the points that I think the Pinnacle Association would like to have made to probably help support their inquiry. So I'm talking about that letter. There are some superficial edits that I think we should make to it that don't change anything of the substance of what they're saying. But
that's what I
all.
thought. That's what I thought. And I do agree with you, David, that maybe this needs to be discussed a little further, and to make sure that the abutting owners have no problem with it.
Okay.
I could speak to one of those. There's a new owner up the road that is a new a neighbor. He comes from Enosburg. He's a veterinarian, and he found out about it from the Vermont Public Radio broadcast. He comes down. It's a sort of second home, I think, kind of a camp for him. It's just his camp is just north of the property, and he's very enthusiastic about it. I could just save you some time. I could even send you the document if you wanted to see it, that the email he sent. And one of the reasons he was really excited about it is because he loves hiking the trails that are already there, but he understood that we have an existing deficiency by not having a really decent parking area there, and he pointed out that that was going to be a relief. So he, as a neighbor, was glad to hear that that was going to be helping the area.
Mm-hmm. Does he live in Brookline?
No, he lives in Enosburg Falls. I think his name is escaping me at the moment, but he purchased the cabin that's to the north on the same side, to the west of Grassy Brook Road, I believe, for the wildlife and so forth.
Right.
Maybe he plans to move down there longer term. I don't really know.
Okay. All right. I'm looking at the map and I'm seeing that it's approximately 187 acres in Brookline. And let me ask Bruce what he feels, and then we'll talk about how to go about getting property owners to survey them. Mr. Mello, how do you feel about the project?
Yes, thank you. I was listening to everything everybody said, and I concur with everything pretty much. I think it's wonderful that we're going to have these trails going on the outskirts or off the chute of Grassy Brook Road out into the woods. Being an old camper myself and an Eagle Scout, I think this is a wonderful thing. So, other than what the concerns that David brought up, if everybody's good as far as adjacent landowners, I think it's a really good idea.
I do too.
Okay.
That's it for me. I'm on with it.
Can I make a comment as a member of the public?
Sure. Mr. Tanza is our town clerk.
Camelia and you folks and Jay, my only thinking, and this is a thinking that has been reflected in a number of conversations I've had with some of the folks in town. We in Brookline are a very small town. We don't have a great deal of land, and we don't have a great big tax base. And by the Pinnacle Association and Windmill Hill and Putney Mountain Association, they have conserved a number of acres in town, which reduces our net worth. We have a net worth of $74 million. And when you put everything into with the current use and everything else, we're down to $71 million. And our town has to pay taxes predicated on our net worth. And I understand the importance of land for trails and for recreation and so forth, but I just want you to understand that some folks are a little concerned about their tax bases. And that is one of the questions that I'm just curious how you wish to address that. There is no doubt that current use, we get a hold harmless payment, but the hold harmless payment is paid by you, me, and everyone else. The state is not in the business of printing money. They collect money. So the bottom line is that when we put this money into current use or in conservatory things, that has a tendency to reduce our net worth. And I'll say this now also to defend that. Some of the folks who have adjoining property, their value would probably escalate because they are next to a conserved piece of land. On the other hand, if you have a piece of land that is an incredibly piece of land that's got the opportunity maybe 2 or 3 years from now to have a house built on it and everything else, that property would escalate in value. So those are some of the concerns that I hear in the office, and also some of the concerns that I have myself. And I was just wondering if you wish to address that.
Sure, I will speak on the specifics of this parcel to point out, you may already be aware, but it's already enrolled in the current use program. Anyway, it isn't a new current use enrollment. And I would be surprised if for any reason the fair market value of that property was necessarily any less than it already is. Just that's the only point that I want to make. I don't think the Pinnacle expects to pay any less taxes than the prior owners. That said, it is true that it would not be developed. So your point about the possibility of a new property owner building, something that is higher value would be possible without us owning it. However, the prior owner, the two nephews who have been trying to sell it, haven't gotten anywhere trying to sell it. So apparently it's not a high desirable, nobody's doing any bidding wars on this property.
Mhm. Okay, good point.
Can I just ask a question, just to clarify, and apologies, I think you made mention of it previous. How long has this property been up for sale at this point?
I don't know.
Sorry, that was maybe Camilla may know.
I may be able to answer that. Yeah. I think it's been about 3 years. We've been working with Jim Massey for many, many years about this because he himself wanted it to be conserved before, and then he passed on and his nephews inherited it. And they pretty darn quickly put it on the market. And that was about 3 years ago. I think they may have taken it off the market once or twice. People kind of take stuff off and put it back on, hoping that, it'll be new out there. But they got an offer within the family, but I think they really didn't get a lot of response. It's big and expensive.
Mm.
That's great. Thank you for those points.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Camilla and Jay, does anybody else have any questions or anything else you would like to share with us with the select board before we? No? Okay.
Can I just ask, can I ask one more question, which is, what is your guys' goal for when you would like this letter, assuming that we vote to move ahead with the letter? When are you hoping to get this letter sent to you so that you can send it on wherever?
Very considerate of you to ask that. The really major 2 grants that we put in have a deadline. The first one's April 14th. And the next one's April 20th. So in the next 2 or 3 weeks, if possible, would be fine.
We do have a board meeting on April 7th. We do have a board meeting on April 7th as well. So. Okay. All right.
That's it.
This is my first full select board meeting since we reorganized, so I'm a little rusty here. But later on this evening, after 7 o'clock, we will talk a little bit about the Okay, no, that's okay, hold on, wrong line item. Okay, make sure everybody's in. All right, so I guess what we're looking at is we will review over with David some of the wordage, the terms that are in the letter. Maybe you can share that with me after another time, David. You said you found some editing things, and we can also discuss before the end of the night how we feel about that, and then move on.
I think that's entirely acceptable for us. I mean, we wrote the letter, and obviously it's a letter that you would sign on, so that's fine with us.
It was just to speed up your process.
All right. I have to find out how we would survey adjacent landowners in Brookline before we could proceed any further. You do have a deadline of April 14th. I'm certainly sure we can meet that date before that date. Worst comes to worst, we have another select board meeting on April 7th that could be used to have a letter that's appropriate for us and follow through at that time. Is that sufficient for you as well?
Yes, let us know if you would like us to reappear to answer any further questions.
Okay. All right, that would be fine. Well, thank you very much, Camilla and Jay. I appreciate you coming on to the Zoom meeting, and you're welcome to stay and hang out with us, or you're welcome to enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Helen, I see Helen Holt joined a little later on in the meeting while we were talking with Windmill Pinnacle Association. Hi, Helen, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Helen works with Mike Bills in Townsend. We spent a few minutes talking to Mike about his expertise and such, and I just wanted to, if you wouldn't mind, you wanted to introduce yourself to the other select board members, and then we'll move on later on in the afternoon. I think we're very pleased to have some help for the listers at this point in time. So just want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I work with Mike Bills over in Townsend. We're the listers, and Townsend, I guess it's about 3 times as big as Brookline, I believe. I was looking at at your guys' grand list, and it looks like we're about 2/3 bigger all the way across the board. And I'm happy to help out. We have the same software program. We use Nemric and Kama, and I'd be happy to do whatever I can to help out.
All right. I know Mr. Tanza said that you were very well versed, and a lot of you and Mike had a lot of experience, and so we're thrilled to have you interested in helping us as we try to fulfill these appointed positions at this time, since we had no one who ran for election. So you're welcome to stay, Helen, for the rest of the meeting, or to enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. Later on this evening, we have on the agenda to do the appointments, and I'll shoot you an email tomorrow.
Okay.
And I think there might be some paperwork you might have to come in and sign with the town clerk for salary and so on and so forth, but we can work on that after the fact. Does anybody have any questions for Helen?
No, except thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Anytime. If you have any questions,
Thank you.
you guys have my contact info.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Thanks again, Helen, for coming tonight. Appreciate
Have a
it.
good evening.
Thanks for your help.
Bye. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me here. Okay. Any unscheduled members of the public? Mr. Mark, is this you, the 258 number? Mark Bills?
Oh, yeah. Yes, that
you?
would be Mark Bill. Yes.
All right.
There
I'm
he
going to
is.
put your name in here because of who you are. Let me just do
Okay.
this real quick. All right. All right. Okay, so moving on, we're going to take a look at the minutes from the February 24th, 2021 meeting. They weren't available at the last select board meeting, so at this time, we should have had sufficient time to look it over. I'm going to abstain from this from the voting on approving this the February 24th meeting because I wasn't present. So is there someone who'd like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes from February 24th.
Okay, can I have a
I
second?
only have one correction that needs to be made.
Okay,
Is on
You want to
page-
second it first?
yeah, we have to
Second the
second it
motion
first, and then we'll do
second it.
discussion. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Gwen seconded. And Gwen, and discussion, any changes?
The only change I see that needs to be made is page 3, under review and discuss Article 25. Mr. Tolliver needs to be Mr. Towler.
Could you spell that again? What is this?
Article 25, it was Dan Towler was asking questions, and he's got
Okay.
Tolliver, and it should be
Yes.
Towler.
Got it. Thanks.
All right,
Okay,
That's
the
it.
name. Oh, perfect. Thanks for catching that, Gwen.
That was literally the only change I had as well, Gwen.
Excellent. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from Wednesday, February 24th as amended signify by saying aye.
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 Any abstain? Dot, I'll abstain. And any nays? No. Okay. So with one abstention, the minutes from February
Okay.
24th are accepted. All right, next, we're going to take a look at the, look to approve the minutes from March 3rd, the reorganization meeting. I make a motion to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Seconded.
All right, seconded by Bruce. Any discussion or changes, any discussion on those minutes?
The only thing I thought should be changed probably is up in the header. I should not be referred to as the chair because there was no chair until Dot was elected chair.
Ah, okay.
And Dorothy Maggio should be under select board, not members of the public.
Oh, okay. All right. So under presence, thank you. I didn't even notice that.
Those were the only things I saw that I thought needed to be changed.
Anybody else have any changes for the minutes?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021 as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous acceptance of the minutes from Wednesday, March 3rd. Very good. New business. All right. Oh, here it is. Under the new business, I had the letter for support for the town of Brookline for the conservation project of the 187 acres of the Massey land in Brookline. David, you had mentioned that, or somebody had mentioned that we surveyed property, adjacent property owners.
Well, so what we've done, I know at least in the case of the acquisition, the letter of support for the acquisition for the Deer Run Nature Preserve,
right,
who approached us a year or two ago. What we did was Guy was able to identify, via the tax map, the landowners of any Brookline landowners of any parcels that abutted the land that was going to be acquired. I wrote a very generic letter addressed to each of them and literally did mail a letter because we only had mailing addresses. That was the only contact information I had. Mailed letters to each of those landowners, basically saying, at the April 7th, at the such and such meeting, we're going to likely vote to send a letter supporting this acquisition by the organization. If you have any concerns about this or whatever, I can surface the letter and send it to you of what we said. But basically, if you have any problems with this, here's how you can contact us. Reach out to us by phone or email, or come to the April 7th meeting and voice your concerns or something like that.
Perfect.
We got no response from anyone. So we
Okay.
proceeded, but we at least made the inquiry on the, I think it's unlikely, but on the off chance that one of the abutting landowners does have a problem with it, doesn't necessarily mean we have to change what we're doing based on that, but they've at least had an opportunity to voice an opinion if they have one.
Okay. Mr. Tanza, is it okay if you could help me maybe in the next either Tuesday or either Thursday or Tuesday coming up, looking at some of those tax maps and getting an idea of who the abutting landowners would be for that property? Would you?
No problem at all. I can do that in a heartbeat.
Okay. Oh, good. All right. Well, that's what I'll do, David.
And the good thing, and the good thing is we have 3 weeks because of. Yeah. So we have enough time, I think, to probably send something out and just give people an opportunity to respond if they want to respond. And then to your point, and it seems like it works for their timeline, I guess I'd suggest we put on the April 7th agenda approving the letter. We will tweak by then, and it will still give them plenty of time for their application stuff.
Perfect. Yes, I agree.
I can have that ready for you tomorrow, Dot.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Guy. That'd be great. All right, we'll do that. Next, I put this on the select board agenda. I did this once before. It says select board goals and projects in the coming year. And I just wanted to, get an idea of where everybody's at. I didn't expect to come back as the chair, but after about a week, I'm sort of delighted to be able to work with everybody again in this capacity. And I just wanted to say that and tell you, David, I appreciate the fact that you're going to help us with the grants, and that's going to be really quite beneficial. And I don't know. I guess what I'd like to see this year after pandemic still happening, but I'd like to see I'm on the Brookline Meeting House Committee, and we were going to have monthly open houses. I would love to be able to do maybe later on in the summer, if they reduce some of the restrictions, we could get back to doing that and getting some more community activities going on. We talked about ice cream socials or having a softball game at the field. Those are things that right now we can't do, but maybe we can in the future. And so I would just like to get the community back involved. I think this pandemic has been very, very heavy on all of us. And as soon as I get my two vaccines, I'll start coming into the office to do my meeting. But yeah. So Gwen, what are you thinking about for the next 12 months? Any ideas that you'd like to see going on, or?
No, I just want to be as helpful as I can, and I think getting as many people involved as possible. Yeah. And those that volunteer, really, if they volunteer to do something, I think they need to follow through.
Amen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep. How about you, David?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo Gwen in that I'd like to have us try to find some ways to get more people involved and get them to stay involved, certainly. I mean, for me personally, I want to stay on top of the few grant things that are going on for the roads. I mean, I really hope that we can get the salt sand shed project built this year, although that may or may not be possible, but hopefully. Yeah, and then just help in whatever way possible.
Well, no, you're always very helpful. I think your editing skills and catching things like letters and helping out with the town reports are exceptional. So that's much appreciated. Looking forward to working again with you, David. Bruce.
Yes. I just have a very fast question. Does anybody know where Shelby is? Has heard from Shelby?
No, and I told Guy I need to get a list of phone numbers. I'll give her a call and find out what's up.
Okay. I'm concerned about it, but whatever. I just want to say something, and then I'll expand. A lot of the ideas are similar to what you all are talking about, which is great to hear that we're in similarity of thinking anyway. But I just wanted to say a couple of things. In the 7 years I've been on the board, I started thinking about it. I started to realize that we now might have the most talented, experienced group of select board people that I've seen in the 7 years I've been on the board. But saying that, that also extends out to our town clerks and the road team and other people that have now left, Marcia and Cynthia. I don't know about Cynthia, but who has spent years in helping this town. So it's like you all said, it's time we start trying to move the ball forward to get other people to help out. It's wonderful what you did, Guy, getting those listers. Oh boy, that was huge. But I just really wonder if this town really knows how lucky they are, because I don't want to minimize this, especially. And don't want to forget the road team, the town clerks, and of course Mark and Archie, the incredible job they've done on our roads. And I just want to I would put it this way: our town is basically the 4 B's: blacktop, buildings, and balanced budgets. Buildings are a bit of a chore, but the balanced budget and the blacktop, we've done an amazing job over the period of time that I've been on select boards. We've balanced our budget. We've level funded almost every case all the way through the years. And again, I just wonder if this town really knows how lucky they are. Okay, saying that, once the pandemic ends or gets minimized, I concur with everything with Don and what the three of you just said. I think it's really, really important that we try to move in a positive direction to try to get a little bit more sense of community. I actually asked Guy, I'm not trying to put you in a corner, Guy, but I asked Guy yesterday, Guy, what is something that this town doesn't have that everybody else in this the town and this valley has? And that's a town center. The only thing that represents anything close to a town center is the church. And all the ideas that you just came up with, and maybe more, and others that we can come up with, Dot, is a good step in that direction to get a little bit more of a sense of a community, bring me more people out, and start this ball forward. And this is how we get help too, as well. But not just from that standpoint, but just a little bit more involvement in the community, a little bit more community caring.
The outreach.
And saying that, just let me look at my notes here for a second. I'll go into the buildings later. I have an expose for that. I'm sure you're all waiting for that. But lastly, I want to go back to something that we were considering back 3 years ago. And I think Guy hit the nail right on the head. And I disagreed with at the onset, and that was getting a wheeled excavator. We explored it. It didn't work out. I got all that. But we have a grader. We don't have a wheelbarrow. We have nothing. And the thing is, it's really economical. We have the money to do it. So I think what I'd like to also see as a part of a goal this year is to try to pursue that direction. Good used, maybe even a new. We have to look at the financing charges, the cost charges, the differences. But Guy had it all worked out 3 years ago. And after being against it, and I've looked at the numbers, he was right. And if we had that wheeled excavator now, the bills would be in much better shape. He'd be the only one running it. And I can go on and on, but I won't. You all probably know the rest of the things I'm going to say, but I don't need to do that. And I think that down the road we should start pursuing it. I've talked to Mark about it, and we've shared some ideas yesterday when we were together. And those are the thrusts that I'm thinking. And the buildings you'll hear about more later. So that's it for me.
All right, very good. Guy, I know you're not a select board member, but you're our town clerk. Is there something that you'd like to see that's not happening now that you'd like to see in the future before we move on?
The only thing is that right now we're in a very dynamic situation where things are changing, not on a monthly basis, but almost on a weekly basis. And it's really difficult at sometimes to catch up to everything. But I think to reiterate what Bruce said, I think a community center is certainly something that we should work toward. And the other thing is, I really truly believe that the town should have some sort of equipment so that Mark doesn't have to go racing around to find somebody or do something. That's terribly important to me. Other than that, I think the town is a great little town of 550 people, and I'm pleased to be here. And hopefully, we can get a few more people to step up. I know it's
Yes.
difficult, but we need to have some new fresh blood.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But we got some good old blood here too, so I appreciate everybody's
Present company included, right, Doc?
what we're doing. It makes it exciting to work together. So I don't really know Shelby very well, so I'll be looking forward to getting to know her, and I'll give her a call tomorrow. All right, thank you for indulging me in that little round table. We'll move on now to old business. Review policies, sign the hard copies at the town hall. I was at town hall today again when I picked up the payable warrants, and I checked the conflict of interest policy, the rules and of procedure policy, and the purchase policies have all been signed by myself, David, Bruce, and Gwen. We need to get Shelby to sign those 3 policies, and then we will be fine to move on. So,
Okay.
all right, I get that in the minutes though. Anything else on the policies?
No, I don't think so.
The next is appointment of positions that are still unfilled. I'd like to appoint Helen Holt and Mike Bills as listers for the town of Brookline until such time as we can get residents involved in the position. And I guess we don't have to vote on a nomination, correct?
No, we have to vote on it. It doesn't need to be seconded, but so you've nominated Helen Holt and Mike Bills to, and can I ask a question? I guess you and I talked about this the other day, but so Guy or someone, we have clarified with VLCT or someone that we are able to appoint people to elected positions if no one has stood for that elected position, right?
That is correct. An appointed position can be someone from out of town. They do not have to be a town resident. As far as election, they would have to be a town resident.
Right, but it is the case though that we essentially are now making these appointed positions. Therefore, they're not bound by because in the case of, I am quite confident because I think we investigated this, in the case of the treasurer, we cannot appoint non-resident to be the treasurer because it is an elected position. It is a position that is elected by the town. However, my belief is that in this instance, because we have put these positions forward for election and no one nominated themselves, we essentially are now able to treat them as appointed positions for the remainder of the year anyway, I guess. I just want to make sure there's no reason that we can't do this.
And as appointees, they answer to the select board.
Okay. All right. And I had spoken with Guy. He said he had checked, right? So we should be fine with the appointments for the listers since there was no one who ran for the elected positions. So
can I ask one more question before we vote on them?
Sure.
Not that it necessarily will change anything, but has it been discussed with them what our budgeted compensation is, hourly rate compensation is for our listers? Just because I don't know that it's
I
the
spoke
same
with Ellen.
at all as Townsend's.
I did speak with Helen, who I met initially, and I told her that the rate was $15, that it would be escalated to $16 in July of 2021. And she seemed to be, she was okay with that.
And that's for the chair of the listers, not for all
I'm
the
not-
listers. Though.
I didn't know if we designated a chair or a vice chair, but the bottom line is that according to with my conversation with Helen, she seemed to think that just a few hours a month would be sufficient. So I think that falls within our budgetary approval.
Okay.
I'm not sure, David, what you meant by that. Did we
Well,
have a chair?
There's always been two different rates for the listers, or at least there has been for the last, since I've been on the board. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm gonna throw out the possibility that the chair of the listers was compensated $15 an hour and other listers were compensated $14 an hour, possibly. We have budgeted to increase both of those by $1 an hour starting July 1st, but it has not been the same, at least in everything I've seen. The breakdown of all of the hourly rates that I've always been given by the treasurer, it's not the same. The chair got compensated slightly more than the other listers.
Well, in this case, the only thing I can say is that they're appointees now by the select board. And I think the select board must come to reason saying, okay, are they worth $15 an hour, $16 an hour, whatever it is? It still falls within the confines of our budgetary approval.
Well, which is why I wanted to know if that had been discussed with them, which is why I asked that question. So do we think at this point that the belief of Helen, at least, is that the compensation is $15 an hour? Probably.
I said it was, I spoke with her, and maybe I didn't speak. I guess I was kind of excited just to have someone to come on board.
Oh yeah, and I'm not saying
no,
that wasn't a good thing to do. Yeah, I just want to know what we're working with.
I mentioned to her that it was $15 an hour, and in July it would go to $16 an hour. Now, the fact is that these aren't just two people that have never done this before. I think they have a great deal of expertise, and for that reason, I would almost assume that they would receive the full value that we chose for the listers.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at the payroll paperwork here from the Grassy Brook Road lister that worked for a couple of hours this month, and 20 and a half hours. It said the rate was $12.50.
That was an old rate.
That's old rate. Yes, this goes back a while. Yes, it was an old rate. Yes, never mind. I take it back because she hadn't put in any bill.
No, I think you're right, Dot. I think you're right that is. I think the rate that Don and Sheila have been compensated at, even up until now, has been $12.50 an hour, and the rate that Marcia has been compensated at has been $15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I can't. I'm really at this point speculating, but I think to be honest with you, I'm grateful that these people have stepped up, and I think it's terribly important that we come to some sort of conclusion of what we have in our budget and what we approved the budget for, without regard to chairman or anything else at this point, because we only have 2 members of the listers, and normally it's a 3-member team.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking here at Judy's rate, Judy Akampora's rate is $18 an hour for what she does. So it's, yeah. Hmm.
Well, right. And I don't think we should complicate this by introducing I mean, we also had a discussion and voted as a board to agree to compensate Judy at $18 an hour when
Okay.
that was brought up.
Okay.
And I think this is fine. I think we just probably need to try to figure out both what their expectations are and what we have remaining budgeted within some tolerance for the remainder of the year, at least the remainder of the fiscal year anyway, and just see what and consciously decide what their compensation is going to be after we've gotten all that together. And I totally agree with Guy that you know, they're doing a great service to the town, and I'm not saying we should be bound, but we should consider ourselves bound by what the compensation has been in the past. Although at the same time, I want to be conscious not to be particularly disrespectful to our listers who served the town for many years, getting compensated a certain amount and changing that radically necessarily. But I don't know. I guess we have to somehow have more information about where we stand budget wise and what we think we can afford. And are there really only going to be, so is it definitely, I know there had been some discussion about possibly with these people coming on board, maybe Sheila would be open to continuing, but is Sheila definitely resigned as of March 1st?
What I was planning on doing is if we were able to appoint these two listers, that Sheila has met Helen at least, that I could call Sheila up and ask her if she would consider working with Helen and Mike so that the burden of it all wouldn't be on her shoulders, but she would still be able to contribute because she knows Brookline, she knows the property, she knows how to, to get there if they were going to do a house assessment. So that would be helpful. I know she's not interested in doing all the heavy work of the paperwork. I think that was one of the things that why she stepped down. She didn't want to do the chair work that Marcia was doing. But we're at a point here. I see what you're saying, David. You're saying that there is a $2.50 an hour difference between what we were paying the non-chair and what the two people from Townsend. I need a little, Bruce, what do you think?
What?
Well, about the salary for the appointed positions of listers per hour.
Well, we just promised Helen $15 an hour, correct?
That's correct.
I was under the initial assumption that was the going rate, but yeah, that's what she was told.
Okay. And is that the same with Mike Bills?
It would, yeah, I'm guessing.
Okay. Why would we change it?
Because 15 is $2.50 more than what Sheila was getting an hour.
Oh boy. Okay, I didn't follow completely. Okay.
But by the same token, no one has stepped up to $12.50 or $14 an hour. We were in an emergency situation, and I think fair compensation is one of the determining factors of some people, not in this case, but in some cases where we have to be able to realize that people aren't going to come up and do things when they could work somewhere else for the same thing as a no-brainer. It's a real tough call, but I'm just really grateful that we have these people.
Don?
No, and can I just speak for a second? So I'm not saying that we shouldn't do this. What I'm saying is we have a structure that we have used for quite a long time. And I guess I just want to know what we have told these, rightly or wrongly, we haven't had any discussions with these people until tonight when they showed up. So now, knowing now what the previous discussion has been, I would suggest that we decide that we will appoint both of these people. We will pay them both $15 an hour for the work of listers. I will say that if it becomes possible for Sheila to be interested and willing to come back and continue to do some time as a lister as well, that she should also be compensated at $15 an hour. And we'll just have to look at our, the reality is, I'm sure we can absorb it in the budget for a matter of however many months. But we did specifically budget amounts for the next fiscal year predicated on what will now be a different structure. So we'll just need to keep that in mind is all.
All right, very good, David. So what I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at having the select board come to a consensus to appoint the positions for the listers, Helen Holt and Michael Bills, for the amount of $15 an hour for the remainder of the fiscal year 2020-2021. And we will be reevaluated when the new budget comes around on July 1st. By then we will have an understanding whether maybe we will have people that will be in the position, but the listers will be for $15 for the rest per hour for the rest of the year until the next to the end of the fiscal year. Does that make sense?
With the caveat that if
Wait a second, since I had the floor before, can I get a point in?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Bruce.
Okay. I concur with what everybody's been saying, but Dot, if you go to Sheila, you're good at this. Explain to her the situation. Explain to her the situation, if you would. Explain to her what Guy said as far as the hourly rate, and we know that she was getting $12.50, but considering our problem that we had to go to the 15, and then if she wanted to stay and help, we would do that for her as well.
Gwen, how do you feel about that?
I agree.
Okay, David?
With David to appoint the two people and to also ask Sheila if she's willing to come and help at the same rate.
David?
It's only.
Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
I agree in principle, although what I would point out is that these people, in their defense, to their credit, I believe, I haven't seen any of the communications because nothing about their letters that they sent has been shared. Mm-hmm. But my belief is that they came forward and were willing to do this before they even knew what the compensation was. So I think it might be a little inaccurate to describe the fact that we had to increase the rate in order to get someone to do this. But in any event, I think we feel that is very given our constraints. And in fairness, we think it would make sense for anybody who's working as a lister at the moment to be paid that way, to be compensated that way. Okay. Since it's unclear to me whether we're going to have a chair or they're all just going to be listers equally, which is what it sounds like.
Okay. All right. And I will talk to Sheila. I can read you the letter, the correspondence I got from Michael Bills that I picked up yesterday. It was a letter to the select board. It says, I am contacting you because I heard you were seeking.
Actually, can I just stop you there? I think that should be sent around to us. I think that should be sent around to us.
It's paid.
I know, but it can be scanned and emailed to us, like many things that we're circulating electronic things all the time. I don't know why.
How long's the letter? Dot. How long's the letter?
The letter is about
5 sentences. 5 sentences.
4 sentences?
Yeah.
You said?
It says what his name is. He's been a 12th year with. I'm going to read the letter. It says, "I am contacting you because I heard you were seeking assistance with your Board of Listers. My name is Mike Bills. I am on my 12th year with the Townsend Board of Listers. I am experienced with Nemrick and KEMA, which I understand your town uses, as well as the Vermont Current Use Program. I'm a lifelong resident of Townsend and am reasonably familiar with Brookline. I believe I can be of benefit to your town. It would be a pleasure to assist you in any way I can." And then he gave us his contact information. That was his letter.
Amen. Sounds good to me. So let's move on.
So I make a motion that we appoint Helen Holt and Michael Bills as listers for the town of Brookline at a rate of $15 an hour for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
All right, David seconded it. Any discussion? I'm going to follow up with Sheila for discussion. Hearing that, all those in favor of the appointment signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, unanimous appointment. All right, very good. Thank you. And I understand that very good points, David and Guy, about those positions. It's something that I have to be more careful of when yeah. All right, the next appointing positions, the Planning Commission. David, you had mentioned something about, I did not send a letter out through the email blast because we started getting information about the listers and such, and so I didn't want to complicate it, but I will send out a email blast looking for additional people for positions. But David, you had mentioned that Dan Dobson is interested.
Yeah, so I'd nominate Daniel Dobson to be appointed to one of the open 5-year terms on the Planning Commission.
Okay, can I have I'll second that. Any discussion? David, you have talked with Dan and he.
Yep, and he would like to continue.
Okay, so for 5 years. So, all right. Any other discussion, Gwen or Bruce?
No.
No.
All right. So all those in favor of appointing Daniel Dobson to the a 5-year seat on the Planning Committee signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. Daniel was appointed unanimously. I will get in touch with him tomorrow and tell him. All right. The third appointment, the local emergency municipal plan. I know we had Mike Wine on and Mike Fontaine on that as the two leads in the past. I spoke to Gwen Tanza and she said that she would work with me on that. I know, David, you were working on the actual plan itself, but when we have contacts for it, instead of Mike Fontaine or Mike Wynot, we'll put myself.
Okay. So can I just, so I circulated the draft of the document yesterday.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I sent it around to everybody yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yep.
I saw it.
I saw it also.
But I guess if we're now changing some aspects of the context, then we may need to revise it further. But
wait a minute.
I removed Mike Fontaine and replaced myself as EMD in their terms with you.
This is from you. I thought this was from Wyndham Regional. So this is from this list of 6 pages of contacts.
No.
All right. So this is from Wyndham Regional. Okay. Alyssa said that. I did not see anything on that.
Okay. Then I guess I'd suggest we table it's a document that we need to adjust and has to be submitted it doesn't have to be submitted until May 1st, worst case. It'd be nice to get it over with sooner, but
yes.
So I guess I'm not sure let me, I can resend it to you, and maybe once you've had a look at it, you can see where, I mean, Gwen is already listed as a select board member in the, I mean, it,
Yeah.
if you haven't looked at it,
haven't seen it.
it's going to be hard to explain it. So it's probably not
Right.
worth wasting the
I
time right
already-
now if you haven't.
All right,
seen
so
it.
I'm going to table the appointment to the positions for the LEMP until next month, so that I have a chance to review it. I know what the form looks like, but I have not seen it. I'll add it to the agenda. Sorry about that. All right, so that will table. I'd like to move on then to this bank resolution to sign checks. I'd like to make a motion that we allow Guy Tanza and Michael Masters to be able to sign the checks for the town of Brookline. Have a second on that?
Second it.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? I have in my paperwork here for the People's Bank, and I'll bring it back to the office. Guy, you have to fill out, Michael has already signed it, but you'll have to fill out your signature on it, and then we'll be all set with the town clerk being able to sign the checks for the town.
Okay, thanks, Dot.
All right. All those in favor of having Mike Masters and Guy Tanza sign the checks for the town of Brookline signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Okay, summary update reports. Town clerk, Mr. Tanza.
First off, I would like to thank everyone who helped with the last vote, and just remind them that we have a vote coming up March 24th for the West River Modified Education Union District. And in that vote is also the budget. And I'm going to need some help from the folks who were here the last time. So hopefully you all could be there again. The vote is March 24th.
Mhm.
The informational meeting is March 23rd via Zoom. All that information can be looked at on the town website. The other thing is that we have been issuing new dog licenses, and we have also been extremely busy with land transfers. So we're still in the emergency declaration by the governor. So until that changes, we're just following the protocol of the state. So hopefully people will have the patience and understanding, but I think we're doing very well.
Okay. Well, thank you, Guy, very much for all the work that you do. I know you've been very busy the past week or so, especially. All right. Next, building commissioner report. Bruce, I know, Bruce, you've been really busy. I saw you today in around schoolhouse cleaning and at the town hall.
Yesterday.
So you had asked for a little bit of time to give a summary, and you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot that's happened, and I need to make select board abreast of what I've done. First off, before I start, I got to make a special point here of how much Mark helped me yesterday. I've had some issues with my legs, so climbing underneath the floors and all the other stuff we did, Mark picked up the slack. And Mark, thanks a lot. I mean, you made it was taxing enough, but it would have been awful without you. Thank you very much.
Glad to help you.
You're the man. Okay, now to move on what we did. First off, what we did was we went to the three buildings, not the church, but we went to the town office, around schoolhouse, and the school. I'll end with the school because there's more details to it. When we went to the town office, we tried to mitigate the problem with the mice by taking off, by cutting some boards off the lower door near the bulkhead and putting a sweep on. And I found some things wrong with the original framing of the addition part of the town office where we have as a select board. A short board was at one end of the north end near the bulkhead, and at the southeast part of the town office there was gaps too, because the box that was created to put the plywood down for the floor wasn't toe-nailed in. basically, was what it comes down to. So I mitigated, I stuffed insulation in there to try to stop the free-for-all of the mice coming in there and with a sweep. But it annoyed me to see the amount of bat crap that was everywhere. And Gwen has been absolutely accurate in complaining about, well, and I even brought her out a little petrified mouse as a present on the way out. It's just awful. So I decided that I would call ServPro tomorrow and see if they can come in and completely clean it down there and get rid of all that mouse poops. This way we can better watch and control that situation. So that's it with that. The round schoolhouse is a mess. But we've controlled, I think we've got the powder post beetle situation under control, but I'm not happy with the way the moisture is, and I'm not happy with the condition of the dirt and of the vestibule area, and the fact the outside wall of the addition, where Mark pointed out to me that he had donated is that a 6x6, Mark? I think it was, right? Or an 8x8?
It was a 7x7, but yeah.
Excuse me. That's what happens. Never mind. I won't get into that. Thank you. But that's been sitting there for 20 years, and that was supposed to be used as a base of putting up boards for the outside of the shed part that exists next to the round schoolhouse. Mark did come up with a great idea for screens. That maybe we should get some couple screens made up on Route 30 for the windows, so we can get some of the mitigate the moisture problem in there. That's a great idea, because I actually have a screen open in my shed upstairs, and out in my shed I keep it open 24/7. I don't have a drop of moisture in it, so that might be something to think about. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the school.
Hey, Bruce, could I just butt in?
Yes, you sure can.
I meant to point it out to you yesterday about the round schoolhouse sign that tells about the history of the round schoolhouse. It's very faded.
I noticed
almost hard to read, and I was thinking maybe that could get refreshed at some point.
Yes, both Dot and I noticed it too, Mark, and I think that that's something to consider. For absolutely good. Glad to see that you noticed it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, off to the school. This is a bit, but I'll try and rip through it. Oh, and I did not go into the church. Last fall, it seemed like we had maybe a little bit of guano up there, but it didn't seem to be bad. But I haven't checked it this spring so far. And I have a feeling that Kerry Bourne has helped that situation by cutting those trees down around it. But I believe I explained that last fall in one of our meetings. Okay, now, some finite things. Okay, it was 4.5 months ago that we had the boiler system serviced. And the filters were supposed to be changed. Guy and Gwen and Mark saw the filters, and if they were changed, oh my God, they were not in good shape. But we changed. Actually, Mark, shout out, we didn't do the ones down in the gym, so we might have to revisit that.
Okay.
But we changed all the filters. We checked. Mark did most of the work. Checked the system, the septic. Cleaned the filter. It looked good. I took a 6-foot pole down in, not to get too descriptive, but basically it doesn't appear to me that we're anywhere near close to having to have a pump out situation with that septic, as is because him and I and Dave before him had been keeping an eye on it and seems to be doing okay. And also, it appears as though Susie's is doing their due diligence about what they put down the septic system. Mark replaced the boiler exhaust pipe and put a new one up there. And I also had him look down. He looked down with a flashlight, and it's clear. So we have no issues with that. Before I go into the UV system, which I'll try and make as concise as possible, I had Dompier come over because the lights around the buildings were not right, and Olivia couldn't use them outside the back when it's dark out in the winter. So he was there a while, and here's the cut to the chase. We got them all working. We found through Dompier, Sean is the guy's name from Dompier's efforts, that there is a a time clock behind the boiler. I never saw it. I've only been up back there 300 freaking times, but I didn't see it. And he was able to bypass the boiler because there's a switch, bypass the time clock so he could make sure everything was working. Not to go into a blow by blow about all the lights, but everything works under its own given situation, whether depending on switching. Now, the time clock, unfortunately, is busted. And how we know that is because it doesn't keep time. But by bypassing the time clock, we're able to check the system, like I said. So now we're going to have to replace the time clock. That's it for that for now. Now, the big guy. And this is our major expense. This damn UV system, I got into it knee deep up to my waist into trying to understand what was going on. First off, I think I might have said this, that I had a discussion with the Bovats and Harry Bovat, and it was Scott's idea to have Harry show me how to do the system to save some money. Well, I'm glad he did that. I haven't really done it on my own yet, but he walked me through it, and I've got excellent paperwork on how to do it, and I went over it a bit with Mark, and when we have a failed situation, we're going to do it together. Okay, that being said, several things happened. First off, you know that we had to replace the expansion tank last year. We had to replace the pressure tank, and and Gary Line from Line Low was recommending we put in a $2,800 bypass system, a media-based system to get the iron out of the system, which is what's causing the problems with the UV system. Okay, so what I did was I backed off. I was going to spend this $2,800, and I said, no, let's just back off. And I did some research, and I called Viqua. They're the company. They're in Canada. They live in Canada, and they're the company that designed the Trojan system. And we had several discussions on how to maintain it, how to clean it, how long the components should last, and with all that in line, this is what I decided to do. You're going to see on the AP warrant tonight a charge to me, credit to me for $257. That's 2 filters and a new filter housing that mimics the one we have in there. And that was recommended to me in a number of different instances, with the idea that you have the 5-micron filter in the first one and this very elaborate, expensive $88 filter in the second one to shut out the iron as best, and it brings it to like 3 milligrams, or I don't know, it brings it down to small levels. It's supposed to last to 25,000 gallons. Okay, so all's well and good, success is better. So then I had these discussions with Viqua, and I found out the 2 major problems were the iron and the cleaning of the sleeves in the 2 tubes that we have out there in the UV system. Now here's the kicker, and Gary Line mentioned this to me, and it got me thinking, and I did my research and found out this evidently is true through the company. We don't need 2 systems. We have 2 systems in parallel. We only need 1. So what happened was Harry and Scott both came in to install the second filter for me, as I asked. You'll see that $505 AP warrant bill. They then did something I didn't want them to do, but I didn't tell them not to do it. One was down. I had cut off one that was failing, and the other one was working. And they, doing due diligence, you can't kill them for this, is they got it all up and running. Yesterday, I shut down half of it. So this is a learning process, and I'm trying to find the best way forward, and I can't promise you that my filter ideas or the filter ideas from other people that I'm mimicking is going to resolve this problem. But I can tell you this, that the expense of those components are about complete with the sensor and not the major electronic part, is about $900 per side. Right, the sensors are like $400 a piece, the sleeves are like $75 a piece, and the lights are about $230 a piece. Right now we have all spares. So I'm looking for win-wins. This is an extremely expensive thing in the budget or in the fund. So I shut off one side, and like I said, it's a learning process. I'm waiting to see what happens. To date, today, that first 5-micron filter has been in for a month. Mark and I looked at it yesterday. The second one I haven't touched, the new one. That came in days later. That's the one that the Bovets installed. So I'm waiting to see what happens. But if this works the way I hope it does, we won't have to service this other than replacing maybe the 5-micron filter once every couple of months. That's the verdict's out on that. And the expensive one, supposedly 20,000 gallons. So we'll have to see.
Wow.
Now, just let me take a look at my notes, and I might be close to the end here. Yeah, the parts are really, if you remember the AP warrant, we spent $2,100. So the obvious is right now we got spares for everything. And the old sensors that were pulled out, 4 of them, 3 years ago, I asked Viqua, how long should they last? And I told him we had 4. He said, what? He said, this should be at least 2 years. Well, I have 4 sitting there that I haven't tested yet. And he also taught me how to dry test each one of those sensors to see if they're still good. So I did a lot of research here, and hopefully this will all work out and prevent us from spending huge amount of monies on this UV system. Also, one of the major things that was causing the problem with the UV system is what happens is the glass sleeves around the lights get clouded up with iron. And I figured out a way how to clean that in conjunction with Viqua, and that worked. And that wasn't easy to do, but I got it so it's working. So we have spares of everything. I've cut half the system off. The other one is working, and we'll see what happens going forward. Now, I think I'm done, other than one last thing, the money. Just to give you an update in the fund. If you'll see Mike Masters' fund reports, he had us at 11,931 for the school. If you take off the amount of money that you're going to see in the AP warrants tonight, including Nancy Burke, water testing, we're down to about $11,073.69. If you look further in the fund reports, you'll see something around $13,000 for this year, from July 1st to now, that has been spent on repairs and maintenance. And I didn't check back. It occurred to me when I was down here. If $5,500 for the windows is a part of that. But the bottom line is we've paid a huge amount of money in expenses. And I'm trying to mitigate every fraction of those, separating and cutting the costs and getting more into our kitty rather than spending these unbelievable expenses. And where we're at right now that I see, given what Mike Masters gave us, is we're down to $11,073.69. And if we add the next 2 months rent, we'd be up to $14,673. But we have to pay Mark for his work yesterday, and we have to pay Dampier. And that could be as much as $500-600, given that they're going to have to come back and put that time clock in. So I think I've covered everything, and if anybody has a question, I'm open to hear it. Otherwise, I did the best I could to explain this all to you.
Well, I think getting rid of the mice problem in the basement of a town hall with ServPro is an excellent idea, because we have a lot of historical paperwork down there, and I think that would be is a prudent thing to do. And to find out that our UV system can be run in parallel, where one system is on and one is backup, is excellent. So thank you for doing all that research, and also for cleaning out the septic filters. Well, that's a lovely problem.
You don't want to do that, huh, John?
No. I do have one question for you and Mark, is to check fire extinguishers.
Ooh. Are we supposed to do that? Are we supposed to do that, Dot?
Well, yeah. We told the insurance company we would check fire extinguishers, just make sure that they're in the green in all of our
Okay.
buildings.
Mark, do you know what that entails, or is this just something very simple and stupid? I don't mean
No,
stupid in a bad way.
That was something that I'd been doing right up until the water meter had seized up, and I hadn't gone into the school for that. But I will continue now that I am reminded that that is a job duty.
Yeah,
Okay.
but also I'm thinking the round schoolhouse and town hall and meeting house all have fire extinguishers too that have to be checked. So you might want to
Okay.
consider that, Mark or Bruce, to discuss that. That was something on my list as
Just gotta
fire.
get her
Okay.
attention.
Normally, Code 3 is responsible for that. And we have to, for some reason, there was a death in the Code 3 family. But the bottom line is that they come out and do an annual inspection and also sign off on the tickets. I'll get a hold of Alan Pike and ask them to see when we're scheduled.
Right, you can check the ticket to see when they were last there, but our insurance company, I remember way back when they wanted us to do it on a monthly basis to check them.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
Okay, yep.
So
If nobody else has any other questions, or when you're done, if you're done, I just want to make one final statement.
okay. Go ahead, Bruce.
I'm really disappointed this winter about the building. It took it really bad, and it really pissed me off. And what I do with the UV system is an explanation of that. But I think I've hired the people and have pinpointed the people to do the job. Example: the filters weren't changed. As an example, those kids are. And who knows what could happen to the air changer as a result of getting clogged up over a period of time. But anyway, my point is that I've analyzed it, where the expenses are gone. I'm trying to mitigate every part of that building as far as serious expenses. And coming up, we have a new lease coming up at the end of the year. So I really want to have our act together as far as understanding what the costs are and put a stop to this hemorrhaging, which I hope I have done. That's it.
No, good job. Appreciate that. Your work and Mark and around schoolhouse and everything else. Perfect.
Mark was great.
Yeah, thanks guys very much for all that.
Okay.
All right, we can move on from summary updates into highways and roads. And Mr. Bills, you have the floor. What's going on?
Okay. Well, since our last meeting, the mud season is sneaking up on us, and I've been watching the weather very closely, and days when the temperature gets above freezing, and we've already seen some muddy roads. I've been going out and with the grader, and I watch for the freeze temperature, and then I go out and level it up and make it smooth so it freezes so people can get in and out. We've also, in the past 2 weeks, have applied I'm not sure the total, but many yards of 1.5 inch crushed stone over these places that have already mudded with tire ruts. Most of these places are in the direct sunlight. The shady areas aren't quite as bad, but I've spent the last 2 weeks on a regular basis out with the grader. The grader's working great, and so we're headed for another warm up. So I'm just going to continue to make sure the roads are passable. We have a stockpile of more stone at the town garage that's needed, but I believe the roads are at this point in fair to good shape. So that's basically been my 2 week run since the last meeting.
I've seen the quality of your work. I saw Merrill Road has all been restoned, and at the end of Grassy Brook Road, and I know Whitney Hill, and Yeah, it's
Delaware. Yeah, it
Delaware.
seems like, yeah, this year there was areas already that have bothered that haven't in the past. So I blame it on just the quick warm up days in the warm sun. The direct UV sun rays are what the cause. So we'll continue to keep them in shape.
Okay, well, good job. Anything else, Mark, you'd like to share?
Well, I have a few things that I want to accomplish in the next season, the next year. If you would like to hear,
Sure.
I plan to. This is something we do on a yearly basis. I plan to upgrade at least several culvert sites in our town that are failed, which mean that are rusted out, rusted through, or undersized that need to come up to the state standards. So that's one project. Also would like to continue once our new budget turns over and we have more room, have some more tree removal, hazardous trees that I would like to see removed. We have on Hill Road, we're getting closer to doing the ditch project. On Hill Road, there's a few more trees to be removed on Hill Road, just north of the power line, so that we can remove some ledge out of the ditch for drainage. So that's a project I'd like to see done in the new fiscal year. On Whitney Hill, we have a project that's been ongoing, and there's probably 20 stumps that need to be removed to make better ditch, better drainage, and at the same time it'll widen the road to make it a better road for meeting traffic and for plowing. So that's a project I would like to accomplish this summer. We also have some road grants out, Better Back Road grants, and I needed to talk with Dave, I guess, about the project of water quality, Better Back Road grant on Parker Road. Dave, I talked with Charlie Dano, Green Mountain Power representative, about them doing their half of the project, and he couldn't promise me it would be done by the end of June.
Okay, so I talked to Alan May, and if we get, basically what he told me is that if we get to the end of May and we're still waiting because of the delays, I can notify him, and he's not 100% certain, but he's pretty close to 100% certain that he can get us an extension till the end of the year, till the end of 2021 to be able to do the work. We'd still obviously have to do it before snow flies, but it would give us, we could do it later in the summer.
Yeah.
So
that sounds very doable if that takes place. Yes. Sounds good. Thank you for contacting him. Okay. So, another project would be, the crack ceiling. We got into the late fall last year and it didn't get done, and we don't have the money in our budget to get that done this fiscal year, but maybe in later in the summer that could take place, another mile of crack sealing on our pavement.
Yeah.
I've done through another project is ongoing, is replacing old signage to upgraded reflective signage.
Mhm.
And then just all the little tasks that I do is scraping roads and keeping the roads graveled, maintaining safe Brookline roads. That's my plan for the summer, this coming summer. Oh, and also roadside mowing is the other thing.
So when did you rent the equipment for a certain time frame this year? When is the roadside mowing? Do you know?
Well, I like to see the road. Ideally, I would love to see the roads finished mowed before the 4th of July. I just think that that's nice to have them cleaned up for the 4th of July. I received an email from the place where we rented the over-the-rail mower, and they're asking for a reservation if we're interested in renting the same, style tractor we usually do, and it's $3,400 per week. And so I believe that we should probably, if you want to okay that, I should probably call them to get a reservation. The only other thing I was holding out on was if we were to do some grant work before the end of June, I was thinking it might make better sense to rent the wheel excavator to do the digging and stone and culvert work. And at the same time we could get a brush hog mower that goes on the end of the wheel excavator and just have one machine rented to do a month's worth of digging and mowing together. So a little bit of a dilemma there. Now, the rental of the wheel excavator is around $7,000 a month. The rental of just the plain mowing tractor, over the rail mowing tractor, was $3,400 for 1 week.
Ooh.
So the mower is about half the rental of the excavator for the month, and it's only going to take about 1 week to mow. There is an additional rental fee for the brush hog of $1,000. So then that bumps the excavator rental up to $8,000. So, but it all is going to depend on if we're going to do this grant thing before the end of the fiscal year, or if it'll take place after the fiscal year on that rental. Our other option would be to put that out for bid on the granting.
Put out to bid the rental of the equipment?
No, to put out the work that's going to do the grant.
Oh.
The work.
Oh.
For the grant.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We want you to.
Well, we haven't, honestly, we didn't calculate. I mean, when you and I worked through it,
Right.
we didn't account for hiring out anything more than the equipment and the material. We didn't.
Sure.
So there wouldn't be enough money in that grant to do that. So I guess the thing about the grant is, I mean, you've said you've talked to Charlie Dano, and we don't know if Green Mountain Power is going to move the things that they need to move. But could we do a substantial amount of the rest of the work associated with that project?
Yeah, see,
without
the
them
problem,
having moved their stuff.
It's possible that I could put in the culvert. In order to dig the ditches, it's going to undermine the trees that are going to be cut. So I can't really do the ditching and the stone line until the trees are removed. And those trees fall so close to the power lines, they didn't want us to deal with those. And the power line right now runs out to the center of the road, right up overhead, going out the road. And their plan is to completely remove the power and run the new poles after the trees are gone. And this was all supposed to take place last year. And they have got so many projects going on around our town. They've had like 9 failed telephone poles at the southern end of Brookline. And so he said they've got one that's on Parker Road, and he thought they possibly could do the one pole, but that's not going to help us. And he said he couldn't promise me any more than that. We got kind of delayed during the first shutdown of COVID-19, and then they got set back, and now they're moved on to, they got so many things going on. It doesn't sound really like they're gonna be out of our way to do what we need to do for that grant. Now, I was curious if there was a different location that they would allow us to work on.
I think that would be really difficult to pull off at this point.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of locked into, if we want the money, we're locked into that project.
All right. So
which I think is fine. And I mean, I think we're going to have time to do it. I guess what I would say from the sounds of it, I mean, how long if you reserve the over the rail mower with those guys, the other guys, I mean, how long in advance could we, not that we necessarily will, but how long do we have before when we could still cancel that if suddenly we realize in May that we might be able to rent one piece of equipment?
Well, I asked that question before, and they said they would like at least like a month or a month and a half would be great.
Okay.
To cancel.
Which we probably wouldn't do. I mean, they've been good to us, and I'm not saying we should set up a scenario where we bail on them, but maybe it makes sense for you to go ahead and reserve it for the week that you want now. And in a month's time, when we're still at the beginning of the end of April or whatever, maybe we'll know more from Green Mountain Power.
Okay.
Maybe we won't.
Sure.
But,
okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll call. And
I mean, does that make sense to other people? I'm just saying.
No, that's a very good idea, David. I think we need to cover all our bases and get the mowing set up. And if things can change, maybe we can modify it later on. But yeah, I would go with the mower before July.
Right. I mean, we don't want to lose the equipment for the week that's ideal, since it doesn't sound like the timing of everything else might work out, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dave, I did actually, now that I think about it, I have actually done part of the project. I did stone line from the second culvert out Parker Road to Interfire's new driveway. So that was part of the segment. So we are actually, a third of the way onto the project. And like you said, I could probably do it, the culvert, and the only other thing would be the ditch from Interfire up to the new culvert to take care of, which would be minimal. So I think I like your idea though. Just the mowing tractor for a week and then see where we're at. I'm sure I can come up with a piece of equipment to work if Green Mountain Power comes through for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it sounds like you got a lot on your plate, Mark. You'll be busy. Very busy.
Yeah.
And if we start the salt sand shed, we'll have other things to juggle.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Will you be, you won't be tearing down the garage there, would you? Or are you?
No, I believe that's going to be part of the contractors that it's part of the bid. I believe. I'm not clear. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I was under the assumption that it was going to be whoever wins the contract to do this.
Oh, but my question was not that you were going to do it personally, but is that building down?
I see. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
All right, because we'd have to find a place to park your grader. So.
Yeah,
well, remember the machine shed is
separate.
Isn't being touched. It's the
salt that's what I'm asking.
Storage,
okay.
Salt and sand storage shed. So it's
Just
not the main building that's being touched. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
that was my question. All right. Anything else, Mark?
No, that would be all at this time.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you very much for all your work and your thoughtfulness on some of the projects that we hope to get done in the next 12 months. Fingers crossed.
Sure. Right. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, well, move on to the end. As far as communications, the only email I got was, well, we got emails from the treasurer for our records, and the only regular mail I got was yesterday was that letter from Michael Bills that I read to you. I have no other mail that was available for the select board. So we'll move on to pay orders. All right, everybody has in front of them a copy of the pay orders, the accounts payable. I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrant for, I'll make sure I'm reading this correctly here, sufficient document. Okay, this is the accounts payable warrant number 2021-12 in the amount of $253,158.65. Can I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All right, second by David. And as far as a discussion, I would like to note that the majority of that $250,000 is going to school taxes and so on and so forth. Does anyone have any questions about the accounts payable warrant?
Date?
All right, hearing none.
What's the date?
Hang on, Todd. It's dated March 17th, 2021.
I not say that. You're correct. It's dated March 17th, 2021. Correct. Very small print. All right. All those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant 2021-12 dated March 17th, 2021 in the amount of $253,158.65 signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The warrant was accepted unanimously.
Forgive me, would you read the number again, the amount?
The amount number is $253,158.65.
Yeah, people should try to refrain from reacting verbally so I can hear the numbers.
I'll do it one more time.
No, I got it that time. Thank you.
You got it that time. Okay. All right, now I'm pulling out the payroll warrant. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the payroll warrant report 2021-11 dated March 17th, 2021 in the amount of $2,000 $373.09. May I have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2021-11 dated March 17th in the amount of $2,373.09 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Not hearing none. Very good. All right. Thank you. All right. So setting the agenda for the next meeting, which is Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. On that will be the letter to the Windmill Pinnacle Association, the local emergency management plan. Anything else that at this time someone would like to add to the agenda for April 7th?
Not me.
Not you. All right. Well, we'll have time ahead of time, and I will get the agenda out a little earlier. I had a little faux pas with my erase delete button, but we won't talk about that. All right. If there's anything else,
Nope.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning this evening's select board meeting signify by saying aye.
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 If you need to get that
opposed?
seconded.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 8:27 p.m. Thank you very much.